Hello, my name is Mark Gibson, and you're listening to the podcast version of the Teagasc Signpost Series, a weekly webinar that promotes and examines sustainability in Irish farming. Hello, and you're very welcome to this morning's webinar. We hope you're keeping safe and well wherever you're joining us from today. It's quite mixed weather we're having at the moment, but hopefully the crops are getting saved. The silage season, I think, is well underway, well, almost finished in parts of the country, I imagine. Today we're going to be exploring the Organic Tillage and Vegetables EIP project. It's a farmer-led initiative tackling one of organics production's biggest challenges, which is weed management, and bringing together growers, Teagasc specialists, researchers, industry partners. The project is trialling innovative solutions to build more sustainable and profitable organic farming systems. And to tell us more about this very exciting project, we have Martin Bourke, who's Organic Tillage Specialist with Teagasc, and also William Deasy, who's Specialised Teagasc Vegetable Advisor, who are going to tell us all about the project and how people can find out more about the project. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
Morning, Mark.
Good morning, everyone.
Great. So maybe Martin, just to start with you, to tell us a little bit about the organic program. A lot has been happening in organics over the last number of years. I suppose it has helped that there was a minister with responsibility for this area until Pippa Hackett didn't get re-elected in the last government. But the momentum is continuing, though. Is that fair to say?
I would say definitely there's still a strong headwind behind organics. No, and Pippa she did wonderful work promoting organics. Teagasc really upped their game in terms of investment in resources and staff. And we have 6 regional advisors now and 3 specialists, and William then as well on the organic vegetable side. So we have a big team, and the farmers feel it on the ground that it's a very much supported sector from an advice point of view. And we saw literally a trebling of numbers over the last 4 years. We went from 2,000 farmers back around 2022, and now we're at about 6,000 organic farmers. So upwards and onwards, it's going well. And look, Teagasc has an awful lot of activities going on the ground. We have our Monitor Farm program, the Growing Organics program. We have 13 farms around the country who act as kind of, farms to practice best practice on, try out various applied research trials and so on, farm walks and demonstrations. And then we also have our main research project, which is Grow Farms, Growing Resilient Organic Farming Systems, it stands for. And most of that work is done over in Athenry. There was the sheep finishing trials over there. We had beef finishing trials in Grange last year. And then, of course, Kildavin Farm down in Johnstone Castle is now gone and made the switch, converting into organic farming. So a lot of stuff happening. We have multiple other projects. Oh Fine is another project we're on. It's a kind of innovation network project, and there's a lot of partners across Europe and cross visits between farmers in Ireland to other countries and vice versa. And it's a huge opportunity to learn. And there's also on-farm trials taking place in that project.
Okay, great.
One of them is actually on the launch farm for this EIP, so I can talk about that later.
Yeah. Brilliant. So lots and lots happening there, and real wraparound support, I guess, to try and get the knowledge flowing around the sector and the adoption of various practices. And William, so your particular interest is on the vegetable side of things. What are the main challenges there?
I suppose right across all of vegetable production, maybe and horticulture generally would be input price inflation, input costs, etc. But going down onto the farms, then I think from an organic perspective, what we're working on here with this project, weed management is a really key challenge. And I suppose, and that can be very season dependent as well, and field specific as in relation to weed pressure, etc. But it is a key challenge, and I suppose following on from that, then pest and disease, etc. But fundamentally, weed pressure is the key challenge, and I suppose coming back up from that in a broader sense, then I suppose we're looking for opportunities to grow the number of growers, be it existing growers, be it farmers coming across from tillage or new entrants even, but there are significant, I suppose, investments involved as well in getting into vegetable production as well, capital investments. So there's been a lot of support there at policy level, and also from a scheme and grant support level as well, and that's been hugely beneficial to farmers and growers in recent years as well. For example, with the horticulture capital investment scheme, organic growers can avail of 50% support on that as well for machinery and horticulture specific equipment, etc. So yeah, I suppose we're looking to expand and grow as well, the area under production, because the market certainly is there, and these challenges, we do have solutions, and we are looking for solutions to some of these agronomic challenges as well. So the market is there. So yeah.
Very good. And I guess this project is probably addressing some of those aspects, particularly I know labor is a big challenge for the horticultural sector. So if we can find machinery to assist with some of those tasks, that makes it a little bit more attractive. So I know you have a lovely slide deck you're going to share with us, so I think we'll get straight into that.
Yeah, so look, the name of our project, it's Organic Tillage and Vegetables, and we have a tagline, Better Weeding Through Shared Machinery. And first of all, I suppose before I talk, I'd just like to acknowledge the funders of the project, and that's the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, and then it's co-funded by the European Union. And I suppose to begin with, just to start with the basic common denominator for everyone, in case some of you aren't familiar with what is an EIP, it's a European Innovation Program project, and effectively it's different than traditional research. The EIPs very much put the farmers to the centre, and you're working in collaboration with farmers, with researchers, advisors, industry, lots of different stakeholders, and they come together, and it's more applied, and you're trying to maybe I suppose fix a design to bridge the gap, I suppose, between research and practice, and come up with solutions on farm. So it's very much farmer led. The call that we answered was a call there, an EIP was aimed for environmental sustainability in Irish farms. There have been other calls before on things like gender balance or generational renewal, digital technologies. But this call of an EIP this time was aimed at environmental sustainability. And one of the subsectors of that call was farming in the organic and horticulture sectors. So hence we aimed at that one, and we were successful. The calls opened in November, and the application was deemed a success in May. There's lots of people I would like to thank too. It's not easy. It was my first experience really of being involved in putting in a big proposal. And one of our retired colleagues I'd like to give a shout out to is Dermot Forrestal. He was fantastic in the last few days of trying to get that call in. So I'd just like to acknowledge that publicly. But I'd also like to acknowledge the help of lots of the team, particularly William here, my colleague. And, it was, and Vijay Bhaskar as well. There was a big push on to get that in. So I just feel like it's appropriate. I thank those people. And we were very lucky. We got allocated just over 1.5 million. So we were delighted. And it's a 4-year project. So there's no other project really of this type, I would say, working across Europe on this type of work over a 4-year program on weed management in organics. So it's fantastic. I suppose the idea originally came around as a sort of a tillage idea. I'm going to go through the tillage context, and then William will deal with the context of why it was important from a horticulture or organic vegetable point of view. Okay. And how we're, I suppose, twinning the two together. But just my pet area is obviously organic tillage, and why this is really what this slide is all about. Why did we need this project? Why did we feel it? And I would have just felt, first of all, there are market opportunities. It's a very good place to be, actually, if you're an Irish organic tillage grower at the moment. I know the conventional sector has, issues at the minute with very, very tight profitability margins. But actually, we're very lucky on the organic tillage side. The demand is actually outstripping supply. So you'll see there, the DAFM Organic Feed Survey there, they estimate that there's about a 50,000 tonne demand for Irish organic feed. Now, what happened, and I mentioned it a few minutes ago in my introduction there when we were chatting, Mark, was that the number of farmers practically doubled overnight on the 1st of January 2023 from 2,000 organic farmers to 4,000. And the vast majority of those, over 90%, would be livestock farmers, predominantly sheep and beef. And they will need, even though, we do encourage grass-based as much as we can, and because it's more, economical, and you don't want to be spending expensive money on feed ration. But look, the reality is there is still a certain amount of ration needed to be purchased. So when we saw a doubling of numbers overnight, the corresponding number of tillage farmers didn't double overnight that were organic. So you can see there's, I've got the figures there. Those are the recent figures from the 2025 BIS application. And there's approximately 6,000 hectares of tillage land fully organic. And then there's another 1,000 in conversion, and that takes 2 years to become organic, fully organic. But you could do a very quick sum on the back of a matchbox. And if you think about the 50,000 tonne demand, if there's only 6,000 hectares of full symbol organic land at the minute, you'd have to be getting around nearly 9 tonnes per hectare to meet that demand. And that wouldn't be a realistic yield in organic. So we could virtually double the area, and the demand, would just be getting met at that stage. Another reason, I suppose, or an important context from a policy point of view, is the National Irish Organic Strategy from 2024 to 2030 is targeting a doubling of the organic tillage area. And so I suppose I was very mindful of the fact, and I still am, why are more conventional tillage farmers not switching to organic? And look, I know, being from a conventional tillage farm that has made that transition, and some of my old clients, when I was their conventional tillage advisor, some of them have made the transition. And one of their biggest fears was weeds, and how are we going to manage weeds? So this is why this project hopefully will facilitate a lot of learning on how we can get around good weed management, and it might encourage more farmers then to be brave enough to take the step into organics. Another reason, from a context that, of why we need this project, I would say, from an organic tillage point of view, and I have the figures there, of those 6,000 hectares land that's fully converted, roughly 60% of that is oats. And then the next biggest crop, which accounts for about 20%, is a legume cereal intercrop, commonly called a combi crop by a lot of people in the organic sector. So if you add those two, 80% then is dominated by 2 crops. So we need more diversity in our rotations. Okay. Quite often I would see a lot of oats grown continuously in the same field, and that's not a sustainable rotation. And farmers will put it to you that they're afraid to try other crops because they're not very competitive against weeds. So, and that, I suppose that is the question, why is there so much oats and intercrops? And it's really, first of all, market. Obviously, we're very, very fortunate. We have a huge success story in the organic space there with Flahavans. Flahavans, like, they're the #1 brand of organic porridge in the UK. They're climbing upwards only, their exports. Last year they took in 10,000 tonnes. Speaking to Johnny Flahavan yesterday, actually, they would love to take in more. They're very much open for more customers, more business, more growers. They could take in 15,000 tonnes if it could come in this year, and they have succeeded in getting another 30 growers on their panel this year to grow, and they're looking for more. And so that's one reason why so much oats is grown, and Flahavans pay a very, very healthy premium for those oats. The other reason is obviously oats. Some of you probably know this, but it has this characteristic that it's allelopathic towards weeds. So effectively the roots of the oats produce a toxin that sickens weeds growing in the crop, and it makes it naturally competitive. I was on a farm walk yesterday in Carlow, and we saw it, where you could see how this was happening, and we went into a crop of wheat beside it, and there wasn't the same level of we would say competition against weeds, and it was purely the oats displaying this unique characteristic it has. So those are some reasons why there's so much oats. And why is there so much legume and cereal? The very same reason, because when you mix a pea with a barley and so on, actually it's quite competitive. It really smothers out the weeds. But we have to try and move away from just those 2 crops and look at other crops that might diversify the rotation, and with maybe other market opportunities as well. So I mentioned already the surge in new organic farmers converting, and they're mainly livestock based. So the demand is there. It created huge demand. But I keep going back to it. We need more crop diversity. And this project, hopefully, we're going to look at other diverse types of crops. We'll probably mention it in a while, but we're looking at things like maybe organic maize, organic fodder beet. One of the farmers is growing soybeans, lupins. Actually, beans in wide rows. So look, I'd say I'm probably going on a little long here, so I'm going to hand the next slide over to William now. William's going to present the project context from an organic vegetable point of view. So William.
Thanks, Martin. From a vegetable point of view, from a horticulture point of view, in organic production, we know that the demand is there as well. And speaking with growers, the supermarkets and the market itself is very much open to taking in more produce. And I suppose the most recent figures for retail sales are around the 48.4 million for organic vegetables. If you add organic fruit to that, that's another 30 plus million. So they are high value crops. And I suppose our grower number are in the hundreds as opposed to any higher. And our crop area is still sub 1,000 hectares, growing in recent years. And I suppose the key message and the key context with what we were doing here with the project is to increase production, increase the amount of produce that is getting to the market. And I suppose there are several ways we can do that. And expanding the availability to meet demand can come from producing more crops that we can in Ireland, in season crops as such, and we can also look at extending the season, whether through protected cropping or as you'll see in the project, we're looking at using biofilm to extend the season a little bit. But I suppose when we look at organic strategy and organic policy, and we look at the produce on our supermarket shelves, etc. The key area is import substitution, and we are importing a significant amount of our produce here to Ireland, and some of those figures, I suppose, they do contain fruit such as organic bananas and things, but we're importing in around 70%, and there's a lot of ambition to reduce that to 50% in our national strategy for organics. And I suppose therein lies the opportunity for growers as well. We do have a reasonably good supply for some crops, carrots and potatoes and kale. But there is scope for increasing volumes there as well. And I suppose it's important to mention as well that of that 48.4 million, the local direct sales aren't represented in that figure. So there is quite a volume of produce being sold outside the retail, outside the supermarkets as well. And I suppose how do we build capacity and how do we increase grower numbers? I suppose we're looking at for growers that are there already, looking at improving the practices around weed management and scaling up, and I suppose bringing other growers into the mix as well, maybe from across organic tillage, and we have some very good examples here in Ireland of organic tillage growers or farmers growing a proportion of their land in organic an organic vegetable crop or two, and that's working really, really well for them. So that kind of falls under the crop diversification there as well. And I suppose another area where there's a lot of focus, and that could be in terms of informal arrangements or maybe all the way up to a formal arrangement of a producer organization, and that's collaborative production. And in the case of the project here, that collaboration can be around machinery sharing or resources, and we are looking at opportunities in the project to collaborate in terms of production as well. And all of these strategies and all of this is in the national strategy for organics, but also the national strategy for horticulture to increase our supply of organic vegetables on the market. I suppose that when we look at the context of this EIP project as well, I suppose weed management is to the fore, but organic production is very much based on either mechanical weeding or labor weeding by manual weeding as such, and in some crops hand weeding is still very much practiced. And if you look at the image on the left there, that's current practice in organic carrots, and there's about 15 people hand weeding on that lazy weeder, lazy weeder, and then another driver on top of that. So we're looking at really significant costs in some crops such as carrots, around labour. And I suppose the project we're working on now had a look at some of those crops, and we were looking at solutions to reduce the labour input through mechanical means, and also more advanced weeders. We have some very specific areas in crops that can only be managed by some of the advanced weeders, and even mechanical weeding alone is difficult to get to those areas. So we are looking in the project at one or two weeders that we're hoping will provide practical solutions there, and thereby reducing labour costs, and ultimately it can lead to greater production of those particular crops as well. And I suppose the knowledge that we generate from the project can be shared to open up opportunities for other growers to look at what we've done as well. And I suppose more broadly, we find that labour costs can be very much a limiting one of the limiting factors in scale up, and you know, if you want to increase an area of a crop like carrots, for example, you're going to need more labour, which in turn, has an impact on your cost of production, and can be a limiting factor to post harvest storage, etc., or investment in that area. So really, yeah, labour is a key one, and in organic vegetable production, it's centred around weed management, and then other factors. I suppose this project has the ambition to look at would be opening up opportunities around land availability for the rotation in organic production. The rotations tend to be quite wide, or they need to be wide in organic vegetable production. For example, carrots, just as an example, there could be one in 7 years, and so. Vegetable growers, they do require suitable land as well, and so that's a key area. And I suppose just to mention there as well, because you have such a wide rotation, organic tillage crops are vital in that rotation, and in organic production, it's mandatory to have a legume in there. So there's quite a crossover between organic vegetable growers and tillage farmers in terms of the need to have tillage crops in the rotation as well for diversity. And it's common to all crop production in Ireland. We really have short weather windows, so that's another key one as well. And being able to weed efficiently is very, very important. And labour, hand weeding, etc., isn't the most efficient, isn't the most efficient way, you know. So those are some of the key areas that we were looking at with the project. And I suppose just to bring it on then to the project itself and the main aims, as Martin mentioned earlier, with EIPs, they're very much grower farmer led, but also bringing other areas of expertise into the group. And I suppose what we call the operational group, the EIP operational group, developed out of those needs that were highlighted in the last number of slides, and the main aims then are laid out around weed management as such, and mechanical weeding certainly, and integrated strategies are key. So that can be all the way from rotation to sowing depth to the actual weeders themselves. So there's a really integrated approach in how you tackle weeds in organic production. And I suppose another key aim and a specific objective is machinery sharing, and looking at that, and how we can open up access to machinery amongst the group, and demonstrate that efficiencies can be gained by sharing machinery in a coordinated way. And as we mentioned there, collaborative production is a big aim of the project as well, and taking opportunities to increase the supply of whether that be tillage crops or vegetable crops onto the market as well. And just to mention the operational group, and I suppose as Martin mentioned earlier, the core group of farmers developed around the tillage area in Wicklow there as such, and we developed out the group into down into Wexford and over to for a vegetable grower in the Laois area as well. I suppose we talked with many growers across the country actually around machinery sharing and what might be the key factors there, and it came back time and time again that geographical proximity to one another is a key element to it in terms of the logistics and moving machinery around, the practicalities of that, and also the costs associated with moving machinery around, and timeliness. With weeding, I mentioned there tight weather windows. You really have to have a weeder to hand when you need it. So those were some of the key considerations as well, and also I suppose the actual crops that we were growing were very important in our decision making there as well, and trying to develop a sort of a compatible mix in the operational group as well in terms of what crops were being produced, and I suppose. With that in mind, looking at how we can produce a reasonably decent volume of produce there as well with the growers and farmers that are in the group. So thanks, Martin. I suppose and that brings us along again. The specific objectives are very much, I suppose, coming from the main aims of the project, and in terms of what we're doing on the weed management front, I suppose this year in 2026 we spent a significant amount of time procuring and researching the machinery that we discussed as part of the operational group, and we gave the growers and the growers took the opportunity to express their particular needs as well. And in our initial meetings, that was key really to all of this, was the growers expressing their specific challenges, and we had a couple of sessions there where the growers themselves and farmers were invited to come up with ideas as well around particular weeding machines that they would like, but also the crop challenges that they're encountering, the crop weed management challenges. So I suppose this year, as I mentioned, we've spent a significant amount of time on procurement, and we have a hire based agreement with the companies that we're working with for the machines that we're bringing in, and I suppose that this year really will inform our trials going forward. So we've got 3 more years of on-farm trials that will validate our weed management practices in the particular crops that we're focusing on, and so but central to that really was having the tools to do that work, and we will, as part of that as well, we'll be integrating the machinery that the farmers and growers have themselves. It's very much an integrated approach. It's not usually with weed management. It's not specifically down to one machine. So we're integrating, the machines the growers have themselves, but also I suppose we'll be comparing against current best practice, or if it's about developing best practice, then that will happen as well. So the first specific objective is really around the weed management and trials and validation of the machinery and comparing against current practice. And the second specific objective really is to develop a sort of a template or a machinery sharing model that other farmers and growers can look at when this project is finished. And what we're doing at the moment really, and what we have been doing, is looking at various other models overseas, and particularly in France there's a machinery sharing cooperative arrangement there in the Kuma, but also in England and different other countries. In the Netherlands we spoke with several grower groups there who were sharing machinery as well to learn from their experiences. And ultimately what we'd be hoping to establish from the project really will be a sort of a template that we can put forward as something that works well. And then again, going back to sort of the production side of things, and crop planning is a key part to what we're doing as well, and really I suppose coordinating the logistics of the machinery sharing as well is really a really key point there. And we'll mention it later on, but there are two two people working on the project coordinator, John Hendrick and Cathal Redmond, who's working as the project technician. They have been very, very good at the moment in coordinating the machinery sharing, and that's something that we will be developing kind of tools around how best to coordinate kind of the share over the course of the season. And I suppose going back to crop planning, that really is working with the farmers and growers to plan their cropping for the year ahead, for their own markets, but also to look at where we might bring in other opportunities for diversification there as well. And I suppose behind all of that then is knowledge sharing and knowledge exchange. And I suppose the Open Day coming up is our first real main event to share some insights from the first 10 or so months of the project and what the project is all about. But we'll have a continuous output, really, a dissemination from the project, on-farm demonstrations, but also online presence. We have a new website as well, and we'll be providing a lot of information in terms of guides, etc., videos and experiences. And so there's a lot of knowledge sharing that will come from this, and then that's central to the EIP as well.
Hey, thanks, William. So yeah, I'll take it on from here. I'm conscious of time, so I'll try and speed up a little, Mark, for you. So look, William has kind of mentioned about the initial meetings. Where are we? What progress have we made to date? And we did bring the farmers in for initial meetings and brainstormings, and some of the crops they identified they might like to grow. And there's just some of them there: maize, fodder beet, lupins, beans, soya, and on the vegetable side, sweet corn, pumpkins, courgettes. And we then had to figure out, well, what if these are the crops you'd like to grow, what systems or machine systems or weed management systems would we need to do them? We did a lot of preparatory work before we went over as a group to Agritechnica to meet the machinery companies, and we had targeted meetings with those companies at that event. But we had kind of already narrowed it down to the few we thought we might like to meet. And then we had to kind of think about what fitted our budget best, and in terms of the machinery hire and procurement. So all those things listed there have taken place. We had a very successful training workshop as well with an international expert on vegetables, organic vegetables, that came over from Holland. And look, we as William mentioned, we appointed a project coordinator and technician. And John Hendrick, I'll be honest, he's my right-hand man. He's fantastic. He's coordinating everything, putting together the booklet for the launch day. But him and Cathal is doing a great job. They're actually on their hands and knees as I speak right now. So a shout out to them. They're down and they're actually hand planting kale for the Open Day launch, so that we'll have a laser system hopefully in place to display. So shout out to the lads. They're on their hands and knees at the minute, I'd say, but they're doing great work. So look, we just have a series of photos, and we'll go through them relatively quickly, because I'm looking forward to getting the questions coming in there. This is one of the machines then that we took in. This is a Lemken Tillage, but it's a very kind of it's like your straw grass harrow, but it's a very sophisticated one. And what's so special about this machine, I suppose, is every single one of those little tines has hydraulic pressure. And up to 5 kilograms of pressure can be applied. So you can really set it to a very aggressive setting. But where we actually used this in the project so far was we deliberately sowed oats down deeper than normal. And that we were deliberately trying to slow up the germination period of the oats. So it gave us a wider window to come in with this machine before the oats emerged. So if you can imagine, we're operating above the height of the germinating oat in the ground, and we're giving it a run to try and catch all the germinating weeds that are at the white thread stage. Very, very successful actually. And that's something you'll get to see on the day up in Tommy's of where we did it and where we didn't do that. So that concept is the blind reading concept. Okay, as I say, I'm conscious of time, so I won't spend too long on these. We can take it through questions and answers after. The next machine then was this precision drill we got in. This is not your regular Optima drill. This is actually a special Coverland Optima drill that has geoforce technology. So it drives the seed down, it blows it down extremely deep into the ground. We needed a drill that would sow maize deep, because we were very conscious that the birds would eat the undressed maize seed. And so we used this drill to drill down deep. and it's also been drilling the organic beet. It's on 60 centimeter row width spacings, and the idea of this drill is it's only as good, the job you do weeding later with a camera guided system is only as good as the job that was done before it when it was drilled. So you need a crop to be precisely drilled so it comes up evenly, so that makes the camera guidance system work that bit more effectively. And this is our camera guided system then. This is a Lemken EC steer unit with an EC weeder on the back of it. And it's effectively, there's two cameras guiding that and follows the line. That's the crop of organic beans on one of the farms. And you can see it's doing a wonderful job there. And it's unusual to see beans sown on 60 centimeter wide spacings. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that canopy develops and how it pods and branches, and, will it compensate for the wider rows? These are real innovative type stuff we're doing. From a tillage point of view, this is highly innovative. As I say, you can see why we needed the precision drill, because that beans was sown very precisely, and now we can precisely weed it. One thing I would say is, with all this equipment, you do need you need a skilled operator, and we're lucky we have one of the farmers. His son is like the dedicated driver with this machine, and he's getting very, very knacky with it the whole time. And we don't want to let anyone else up on that tractor and upset the things on him. But it's an exciting machine to watch. It's great to see how it's working. So William, I'm going to let you take it from there.
Thanks, Martin. And I suppose just to mention there as well, I suppose the machines we were looking at there as well are highly, and that was one of the key points to mention in our decision making as well, is they're very versatile machines, and precision tine harrows and the camera guided hoes can be transferable right across to vegetable crops as well. So, but the image we're looking at here is of a Samco biofilm layer and drill as such, and this is, I suppose, in horticultural crops, especially vegetable crops, this would be a fairly widely used system as such for weed management, but for also extending the season. In organics, it works very well as a weed barrier, and so I suppose the system we have here is geared towards direct seeding crops, and so far we've used it in maize and sweet corn, and also in pumpkins, and we'll see how well it works, and it is acting as a decent weed barrier at the moment, and it is widely used across organic production, and we have done some transplanting into the biofilm as well, and the biofilm itself is a corn or maize based starch vegetable oil compostable, very much biodegradable biofilm, and so that's something that's important. There's a lot of innovation in biofilm nowadays, and it has moved on from leaving sort of microplastics in the soil as well. So that's an important point to make, and it's in terms of, I suppose, more innovative, or not so much more innovative, but further innovation and labour saving machines. We have brought in the Farm Droid, and this is a very much based around. It's an autonomous system, so it's. The operator is really sitting on the couch at home, as Martin. But in the field, it's an autonomous system, and it's based around direct seeding, and then basically each seed has a GPS location position, and when the machine returns for weeding, you change over the implements, and when it returns for weeding, it knows exactly where the seed is and weeds around the area around where the seed is, and it's set up as a sort of a 4-row machine at 60 centimeter spacing, and I suppose this last machine is something highly innovative and brand new, really. I suppose globally to some extent, but certainly in Ireland, and there I'd have to mention there's another grower in Ireland as well who's looking at laser weeding, and who has made the investment, and we ourselves are looking at what we're calling here a light weeding robot, which is very, very similar to laser weeding in terms of how it works, and it's highly innovative, and really we've brought it into the project to look at very, very specific areas. So in carrots, to initially, where we have a band of carrots growing, and we're hand weeding in that band, where you can't get mechanical weeders in there, and this weeder from the earliest point will allow us to shoot weeds with a pulse of concentrated light, and it very quickly it works by thermal damage, really, and the temperature that's generated from that transfer of energy ruptures the cells, or in some ways, if you increase the concentration, you can really incinerate a weed, but really realistically it's to rupture cells and damage the plant meristem. And so yeah, that has been brought in for a very, very specific task as well, and I suppose just to kind of to sum up and to say where our future plans lie. We have trials coming up now. We'll have replicated trials coming up from next year, and that will be comparing our approach with best practice currently, and we'll be developing guides from that and ways forward. And again, the machinery sharing template is an ongoing process, and that is already taking place. But it's just to formalize it and to provide a sort of a model going forward. And then, of course, our crop planning is an annual we're crop planning on an annual basis, but also getting back to the fields very often after that as well, and looking at our collaborative production, and of course our communication program is geared around dissemination demonstrations and with our new website and different events as well. So and again, just to say thank you very much to the Department of Agriculture and the European Commission for funding the EIP project, and as Martin mentioned, our colleagues in Teagasc and the farmers and growers themselves as well. They've really been open to taking this project forward as well, and there's a lot of enthusiasm there. And so Martin, just to give the piece on the open day, and there's a nice video.
Yeah. We have a video to play, so I'm conscious of time, but that's the details there. The 18th of June at 11 a.m. in East Wicklow here, Tommy Delahunt's farm. And I'm going to play a video hopefully now in a second, if you just bear with me.
No matter the system, weed control is a major challenge for all tillage and horticultural growers. Organic farmers are breaking new ground with a new European Innovation Programme solution. On June the 18th, we're coming here to Tommy Delahunt's farm in East Wicklow for the launch of the Organic Tillage and Vegetables EIP. This is your chance to see practical innovations in weed management and machinery sharing in action. Watch precision tine harrows, camera-guided weeders, autonomous solar-powered systems, and cutting-edge autonomous laser weeding technology working live in the field. See how some of these systems are performing on oats, maize, fodder beet and vegetable crops, and discover how this farmer-led project is shaping the future of organic tillage and vegetable production in Ireland. So put it in the diary, Thursday the 18th of June, a day not to be missed. Gates open at 11 a.m. and we look forward to seeing you here then.
Great. Well, look, thanks so much, Martin and William. Really excellent overview of the project, and lots and lots planned and already happening. So look, we've lots of questions coming through from our audience, and I want to get through as many of those as possible. We've about 10 minutes to do that, so bear with us, and maybe if we could try and keep the answers as concise as possible. But interesting question there around mechanical weed management and its reliance on drier conditions. And how do we manage this in an Irish context? How will the project cope with the challenge of wetter soils, and will a guide be produced to help growers to assess soils for conditions which are more suitable for this mechanical treatment?
I suppose we can only talk about what we've done to date, as we're only a short way into the project, but I suppose William highlighted it in one of his slides that the windows are tight to use this equipment. Now this year, we can only just say how we're getting on with the project this year, and certainly at the start in the oats, we were trying to get in to do a blind weed on the first crop of oats that was sown, and there was a couple of occasions where we were all set to go, and then another shower. It was a very showery week, so we were worried we wouldn't get it done, but we did. And then we had a month of fine weather, and we've been I think with climate change, Mark, we appear to be getting drier and drier springs, I think, in Ireland. I don't think moisture is as limiting a factor as it used to be. But that is a challenge, just we're not going to sugarcoat it and say it's not.
Yeah.
It's one of the things, and this is why we need a very efficient sharing model as well to get the machinery around quickly to farms. And William highlighted that in the slide about there was a conscious decision. The recommendation was to keep farmers in close proximity together, so that we don't waste too long on the road between farms. The other thing was we were very, what would you say, strategic in our selection of the machines. Like, we went very wide. You'll see that machine there, that weeding machine. It's a 12-meter wide machine, so we can get through work very quickly. Similarly, the drill, similarly the Deasy weeder. So for, I suppose, for the large field scale type work, we're very conscious of getting through the field scale type stuff quickly. Now you have other equipment, but that maybe answers that one as quickly as we could. Yeah.
And just to say, I suppose it's an important point as well, is you really are down to mechanical weeding in the organic production system as well there, and you do have to find those windows as well, and it can be a significant problem if you have ongoing wet weather, definitely. And so I suppose on a practical level, even with the hoeing and things, Martin, as well as getting in early, I suppose. Getting in early is very important as well, because if you have the bigger weed pressure you have, the bigger the weeds, etc. And if conditions are a bit wet, you tend to drag those weeds as well with a hoeing system or with the tine harrow. So making sure you're getting in early is key as well. And really, I suppose for some of the mechanical weeders, you're not moving a lot of soil as well, and I suppose that's one benefit of the laser weeder, or the light weeder, we should call it. You're not moving soil in that system, so it is a useful tool in terms of wet conditions as well.
Yeah, so I suppose there is an education program to accompany with these tools, really, to know the time and when you're not going to do as much damage. A few questions coming in here around fuel use, and is this being considered given the cost of diesel is on the trending upwards at the moment?
I'll take that if you want, because I was pleasantly surprised. I was up on the tractor with the operator a few times. He's monitoring everything on the tractor, and he's able to measure the fuel consumption with the different machinery. So if we just take, for example, that Tillage blind, that weeder, the 12-meter wide, it's a heavy machine, all right, but it's not actually requiring much pulling power, and it's only actually using between 1 litre and 1.5 litres per hectare. While it's in fact, driving from one farm to the other used more than doing the next 10 hectares with it, so it was down the road is what consumed more fuel. And the drill, you might think that drill consumes a lot. It was about 4 litres per hectare. The weeding system was 4 litres. The camera guided was about 4 litres, and the drill is about 7. But even all that, if you compare that to ploughing would use 20 to 25 litres of fuel per hectare, just to kind of put it in context. So I would say it's in the field use of fuel is low. But obviously, okay, if you're driving far distances, that's where it could add up, Mark. But
yes,
so
and another dimension of that is the compaction side. A few people asking questions around, are there considerations there? I suppose that's where the more autonomous, lighter vehicles would be
Exactly.
favoured.
Absolutely, and I suppose we are practicing good practice there as well in terms of wheel tracks, etc., like that, and as Martin mentioned there, if we have wider machines as well, you don't have as many tracks as well. So, but to go back to those autonomous machines, certainly in terms of fuel usage, it's zero really, and they are quite lightweight. But I suppose we're in the process of testing some of the more advanced weeders as well, as to whether we can get that kind of area coverage as well, and because that just when we mention tight weather windows, you do need to cover the ground as well, and if you're only covering small areas and the weather windows are tight, then we'll be testing that as well, But yeah, fuel usage, I suppose those more advanced machines are fairly efficient without a doubt,
And just while we're talking about the numbers there, I mean, the cost of these machines, what sort of expenditure are you looking at? And I know, look, the sharing model is probably needed there to make the economics work on this. But what's like for some of the machinery that you showed there in the slides?
Well, that Lemken Tillage would probably 12-meter version of that would be just over 40,000 euros plus VAT if you were to buy it new. And then the Easy Steer, that system with the camera guidance, which I would say you might think it's more expensive, but it'd be just short of 80,000 plus VAT. And if you get a TAMS funding on equipment like that at 60% in the organic TAMS, and you're sharing that among a few farmers, what I would say is if one farmer decides to buy the weeder, another decides to buy the camera guided and collaborate, share together that way and get TAMS funding. Like you can make this work, I think. But really, I would say it's about the confidence of farmers seeing it work and having confidence. Is it worth investing in this? Like there was no way would any of those farmers go invest without testing road testing it first, effectively field test to see how are we getting on. And if they're happy, it'll be very interesting at the end of the 4 years what these farmers decide to do. Mm-hmm. And I suppose we'd love it. We'd love the wider community then to adopt this as well. So
I think from some of the I was just going to comment on some of the more advanced weeders. I mean, you're into the hundreds of thousands there as well, and really what vegetable growers, organic vegetable growers look at there as well is you have to look at your labor costs there when you're making decisions around some of these machines as well, and it does make sense when you look at it over, say, a 5-year labor bill. It's easy enough to justify some of these purchases then as well, and we relate it back to organic production. You don't have other options. You don't have the chemical approach, etc. So mechanical weeding and is for weed management is the go-to as such. So.
Like a very interesting debate came up one night between some of the farmers, Mark, about one man was considering he has a tillage conventional side to his enterprise as well. And does he replace his sprayer? And sprayers are not cheap either. That modern technology, you're looking at 70,000 plus and up to 100 and something for maybe a horse or something. And the debate was, why would I invest in something of that to spend so much money in an enterprise that's not making me a whole lot of money at the moment? Would I be better off investing the same sum of money into maybe the mechanical weeding type of equipment that's actually being used in a part of my farm that's making way more money? And we have to start thinking a little bit more outside the box of how we look at things and investments and return on investment. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I suppose if a farmer is making that investment, they will want to have reassurance that the supplier and the parts and the expertise is there to, for those eventual breakdowns. What is there any consideration given to that as part of the project as to how that support network can grow?
We were very, very careful. I suppose it was one of the things, obviously, too, in the procurement steps. Was that backup and service and maintenance was one of the key things in terms of the awarding criteria. And we've been Lemken are the main source of some of the weeding equipment there on the blind weeder, the weed harrow, the precision tine harrow, and the camera guidance. And it's a local dealer there in Bagnallstown, Jenkinson's. And to be fair, they're at the end of the phone call. If you want them, they're over, because this equipment, let's not sugarcoat it. It's not straightforward to use. It'll do the job, but the operator has to be as good as it. And then if there's an issue, you do need support, and it's so important to have that support. We all know if computer screens go on us, sometimes we end up pressing that button just to turn it back on again. Sometimes it's the only solution. But you're out in the field and it's going to rain in an hour and you're stuck there in your machine. So you must have, you need very good support on this type of equipment. And so far, we're very lucky there. We've Lenkham, we've Pat Kenny in IAM with the Farm Droid. We've Robert Shine there in Samco. And, these guys spent entire days setting up the machines out on farm. So certainly I'd say if you ask any farmer in the project, they'll say they felt very supported by we'll call them collaborators in the project. So, but it's a very important point. And the other thing is you do need skilled operator. And it was a recommendation made to us actually when we were over getting training with Lemken, was they said you should really nominate one person to drive this machine and get used to it, and don't be swapping people on, down and off the tractor, or someone will get up and the settings have changed, because they could go very quickly off on a mind of their own, these machines, and you could see a row of beet or maize wiped out very quickly if you weren't paying attention and using it properly, so you mightn't be weeding the right plant.
Yes, yeah. So look, we've only a short time left. I'd like you to maybe just, if you could talk us through the event on the 18th. It looks like you're going to have an action-packed day for people to launch, and an open day on the 18th in County Wicklow. We have shared a link within the chat there for everybody, but maybe just to give it a final plug there.
Well, and I just want to give a shout out to Declan McArdle. Made it, I think, a lovely promo video there. He did a great job. He had all his cameras up close on the machines, getting great slow motion footage. So we're going to be looking at those machines from the project, obviously, that were filmed there a few weeks ago. And we have set up the field. So Tommy Delahunt is the host farmer that's hosting this event. Tommy has hosted several events before in Teagasc. He's part of other projects as well. And we have a field set up, a dedicated trial field. There's great parking. It's very easily accessible off the N11, and we have it set up that we'll have oat trials where we're showing how we blind weeded the oats versus not blind weeding versus another run through the field at the tree leaf stage. We have maize sown, organic maize, with different weeding timings and treatments. We have beet in the field as well, similarly again, and we'll have live demonstrations of that camera guidance system working in the maize and in the beet. And it's like a track through time as technology keeps getting more and more advanced. So then we go down to the automated type stuff, the farm dried machine, and see how it's operating. And then I suppose the most advanced then being the light weeder, as William mentioned, the claws system. And this is why the lads are out hand planting this morning, so that we'll have them just nice at the right stage to optimize the display of that, the demo of that machine in 2 weeks' time. So there's a lot to take in. We'll have some of the machinery companies there as well, with trade stands. We have a marquee there in there, and then if anyone likes a nice organic coffee, we're going to be serving nice organic coffee and pastries there as well. So you won't go hungry either, Mark. So there's something for everybody.
I'm frustrated now because unfortunately I won't be around to attend. I'd love to be there. So looks like a great day you're going to have, and really innovative technology is on display there, and I'm sure lots of people there to answer questions for people who are interested. So if you're working in the tillage or the vegetable sector, you really have to be there on the 18th of June. So full details are available on the Teagasc website. I also just want to flag another event which is happening next week in Johnstown Castle. It's the Farming for a Better Future, innovating for healthy soil and clean water. So there's going to be a fantastic open day down at Johnstown, the Teagasc Johnstown Castle research facility, demonstrating how to build resilient soils and improve water quality across the dairy, beef, organic, spring, winter, milk and tillage farming systems. So full details again are available on the Teagasc website if you want to find out more there. There's lots happening this month. Actually, it's there's a farm walk happening down in Don Summers then on the 17th, I think, isn't it? Is it the day before your event, Martin? So that's another event. The one thing, I think your event, you do need to register for it. Is that right?
Yeah, if you can register, it'd be great. We want to just keep an eye on how many cups of coffee we're going to have ready for you all. Yeah. That makes sense. Well, full details, as I said, available on the Teagasc website. Next week, we're going to be joined by Dr. Mary Ryan, who's going to be talking about her recent experience in New Zealand, where she was looking at water quality management on farms. So Mary is going to share some really interesting projects, details of interesting projects that are happening over in New Zealand. So do join us for that next Friday. Until next week, stay safe, and thanks for watching. You've been listening to the podcast version of the Teagasc Signpost Series, the weekly webinar that promotes and examines sustainability in Irish farming. Don't forget to join us live every Friday morning for our latest webinar. For more, visit teagasc.ie. And you can also rate, review, and subscribe to the Signpost Series on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Mark Gibson, and thanks for listening.